Hi, welcome back to our dumpling demo class, COVID edition, April 2020. We're going to be focusing on our first pork dumpling today. This is going to be a pork long dumpling. It's basically the easiest dumpling on the planet to make. It's designed to show you that this is a very accessible process that is, you should not be intimidated by. And even if you do the most basic dumpling, it can still be amazing and delicious. So with that in mind, we're going to start with ground pork, okay? I will say a word, throughout this series, we have been using our bare hands. We're big fans of the tactile element of cooking, so we don't really wear gloves. We wash our hands, okay, which is consistent with CDC rules. But anyway, when we mess around with pork and chicken and stuff like that, we use gloves. So all these recipes are in your packet if you've downloaded the packet, and the amounts are in the packet. So I'm not going to get too granular with pounds and this and that, but I'll just talk a little bit about some of the techniques, and you can follow along with what we do. This is ground pork. Okay, it's about 75-25, 75 meat, 25 fat. The fat is what holds the dumpling together. If you were tuned into our vegetable episode, you need something to hold that filling together. In this case, it's the fat. Also, great flavor. If you use too much fat in your dumpling, be warned, it will shrink, and then you might have a situation where you have too much skin and not enough filling. But 75-25, which is what you get in a grocery store, if you go to your ground pork section, it's basically what it is. If you were going to use lamb, or if you don't eat pork, or if you want to use another protein like beef or chicken, you need to substitute fat. If it's an issue of, well, you just feel like a lamb dumpling today, but you don't have a problem with pork, you could use lamb fat in combination with pork fat to get to that 75-25 mix. You could just use lamb fat, although lamb fat can be a little bit strong. It's the same with beef fat, but if you don't mind that intense flavor, great. Or you could use, again, pork fat, or if you wanted to go another route, duck fat works very well, especially with chicken dumplings. Chicken dumplings, turkey dumplings, notoriously dry because notoriously not enough fat. So substitute some pork fat in there, again, if you don't have a problem with pork, or substitute some duck fat to add to the 75-25. So you got your pork here, and we're going to add our ingredients. We got chopped ginger, boom. Chopped scallion, boom. Salt and or MSG. We're not going to have a big long-winded discussion about MSG. Enough to say that we're not MSG haters here at King's Co-Imperial. A little bit of white pepper. We add a little bit of Napa cabbage for a little bit of texture. Okay, we find it gives a nice little freshness and brightness to it. You could do red cabbage or Savoy cabbage or no cabbage, whatever, but you want to just chop it real fine. So excuse the loud noise, but doesn't have to be beautiful because it's going in the skins, but it should be chopped relatively fine. Again, this is an optional ingredient, not 100% necessary, but a nice addition if you choose. Okay, so now we have our seasonings and our pork, and we're going to mix that all together really well. Kind of use your hand to smoosh it. Okay, you'll see in some YouTube videos on Chinese cooking channels and whatnot, the chefs oftentimes lift up the filling and smash it against the side of the bowl. Okay, we generally stay away from that in classes because the pork tends to fly all over the place. But it is a good technique. And what that does, I'm not sure exactly the food science behind it, but it distributes the fat and gives it more of a kind of a meatball-y texture, which works really well. So we just want to mix it real well. And then really, and I didn't talk about this as much as I should have in the vegetable section, you always want to taste your filling before you put it in your skin. Once you put it in your skin, it's game over. And then if you don't have enough flavor in your filling, you're going to have a bland dumpling. You're going to need to rely on the sauce. Listen, there's a whole school of thought out there that believes that dumplings are just a vehicle for sauce. We don't prescribe to that. We think the dumpling should stand on its own, have plenty of filling, have plenty of salinity. So taste it first. Don't taste raw pork, obviously. Make a little meatball or a quenelle, fry it in a pan, fry it in a deep fryer, put it in a pot of boiling water till it's cooked, and taste it. Basically, you want to taste that there's enough ginger, enough scallion, enough salt, so that it really tastes like something. Excuse me. Okay, so once we got our filling, we're going to make our dumpling. And this, again, is the easiest dumpling to make. We start with our skins. If you've tuned in for the skin episode, you know that I'm just going to do it real quick, and then you have to go back to the skin episode. We want to keep a little bit of a thickness in the center of the skin, so we roll them out so that the edges are nice and thin, and the center is nice and thick. For this, we call this a long dumpling, okay, because it's long. But basically, we want the skins to be a little larger than we would the size of a pot sticker. So the previous class, we have dollar size, silver dollar size. This would be like a really big silver dollar size. So that's your skin. Okay, you're going to take a little bit of your meat filling. And we can maybe prop it up like this so you can see it. We use a butter knife, okay, to spread it. You can buy these in Chinese groceries as dumpling making tools, or you can just use a butter knife or the back of a spoon. And you want to leave a little negative space around the outside of the dumpling so that when you crimp it together, it doesn't impede that process. These skins are moist enough that they do not need any additional moisture to help them crimp. So this is a long dumpling. Again, this is super easy. The vegetable dumpling was a little more difficult, but basically you want to push that filling really deep in there. Make sure you have enough filling so that you don't have a floppy dumpling that has too much skin and not enough filling. One of the key errors I see people make in the classes is they're afraid to put in too much filling in because they're afraid of overstuffing. Probably not possible. Anyway, once you get this, you make your little taco. Okay, same as we did in the vegetable section. You put it down on your board, and instead of folding it, this dumpling is an elongated dumpling. We're just going to crimp the top together like so, and make like a little, I don't know, like a little meat missile. But anyway, there's your long dumpling, and that's that, and that's it. And you can fry it and get a nice crispy on this side. We're going to do a whole cooking segment later on to show you how to cook these dumplings, or you can steam it or whatever. One thing that's really important to mention with these dumplings and the vegetable dumplings, this does not apply to the shoulong bao. At this point, if you wanted to put this on a sheet tray or a pie tin and put it in your freezer, they shouldn't be touching, but you can, put them next to each other, line them up, put them in your freezer, freeze them for 24 hours. Then you can bag them up in a Ziploc and you can cook them right from frozen, which makes them super accessible and easy because you can have your dumplings made weeks in advance, frozen, and just take them right out of the freezer, right into the pan and cook them. Anyway, there's your dumplings. There's your long dumplings. Stay tuned next time for shoulong bao.